Presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
Well, the sun is shining, blue skies above, bright sunshine, but that can't trick you a little bit now. It's cold. Temperatures in the high 30s, climbing into the low 40s, and that's about it. But we're playing baseball and we're dry. Pirates and the Reds, game 2 of 3 here at Great American Ballpark. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us here on Fox Sports Ohio. Well, it's also good news to have a chance to watch Raisel Iglesias again today. He was extremely sharp for a guy who had very little spring training in pitching on opening day.
Maybe he feels that spring training is a little bit overrated. I think there are a lot of people that may agree with him right there, but he did have it working the other day when he was out there on opening day. He got kind of a surprise opening day start because Anthony DeSclafani couldn't make it, but what an effort and what an effort he made. 6 innings of no walks, 7 strikeout baseball. Gave up a couple of runs overall for Iglesias, and this is really what you begin to expect out of this right-hander because he sees throw the ball and hitters have such bad swings against him that you just raise the bar of expectation saying he must be awfully nasty, even nastier than he looks on TV when you're in the batter's box.
The only runs he gave up in that season opening game was a 2-run home run by Freddie Galvis very early on in that one. Meanwhile, for the Pirates, the Reds get a look at their ace, a 19-game winner a season ago in Garrett Cole.
Well, just the peripheral numbers that Garrett Cole puts up are very, very impressive as far as not walking a lot of batters. He strikes out a lot. He had a terrific year last year. He started the first half winning 13 of his first 16 decisions. But he is a guy that has struggled in his career against the Reds, especially right here in Great American Ballpark. So maybe the Reds can keep that little magic going here this afternoon.
We'll see how it goes. When we come back, Jim Day going to bring us up to speed on the guy who was sick for 2 days, been in bed. And then that dude BP came out raking last night. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Let's check out our local 12 weather as you look at the numbers. I can break it down very easily for you. It's cold and it's windy, but we're ready to play baseball. Pirates and Reds coming up. I'm Jim Day. Brandon Phillips missed 2 games with a stomach virus and went home, and they kind of mini quarantined him. Wouldn't let him come in, had a temperature, but got it all out of his system. And was he re-energized yesterday? In fact, he's a focus of our IGS, bringing the energy. First at bat, first pitch, a solo home run. And he wasn't done. He would have a sacrifice RBI later on in the game. 2 for 2, home run, drove in those 2 runs, scored 2 runs, and had a stolen base right here, stealing third, wild pitch, never stopped, came in and scored. Phillips hopes his night last night carries over to today, and he also hopes that these numbers carry over. Garrett Cole, in his career versus the Reds in 6 starts, is winless with an over 5 ERA. And look at Phillips versus Cole, 6 for 14, a 4.29 clip. So those numbers would favor that dude, BP. It's a Saturday matinee. Billy Hamilton back at the top of the lineup. Josh Harrison hoping for a 2nd straight victory over the Reds. Tom and Chris are next.
A moment ago, right now at 37 degrees, but there is sunshine. In the sun, it really doesn't feel all that bad. I mean, make no mistake about it, it's not balmy. But man, when that sun dips behind those clouds, it is very chilly. Raisel Iglesias leading the Reds out onto the field wearing their red tops, as is custom on daytime games here on the home front. And the rest of his mates come out right behind him. Reds losing for the first time all year long here last night. Tough loss, but you turn the page and you move on to today. Pirates are still undefeated. They're 4-0. Beat the Cardinals 3 in a row before that rally in the 8th inning last night. Clint Ertl's starting lineup has Jay So again at first. Andrew McCutchen in center. David Freese down at third. Marte, the grand slam that proved to be the game winner in left. Cervelli behind the plate. Polanco in right. The Cincinnati native Josh Harrison at second base, Jordy Mercer at short, and Garrett Cole His first start of the year is on the mound for Iglesias, start number 2 after a rock-solid performance on opening day.
Yeah, you'd really love to be able to have him run off another game like he did on Monday against the Phillies. You mentioned the 2 runs he gave up was a first-row bleacher shot by Freddie Galvis. It was a ball that just got out of here because it was, well, it was a short distance out there to right field, but he was really in control, even more so than those numbers show. He really, when he did get in trouble, he pitched out of trouble. He threw a lot of strikes, got ahead of hitters. He throws a lot of breaking balls. He's a guy that can fool the pitch FX that they have at every ballpark that distinguishes one pitch from another, because I think his breaking ball that he throws is about 3 or 4 different breaking balls. He's got a sidearm one, he's got an overhand one, a fast one, a slow one. No matter what, it's very difficult on right-handers, and this is a right-handed laden lineup that you'll see here with the Pittsburgh Pirates this year.
Clint Hurdle is in his 6th season as manager of the Pirates. He has 435 games that he has won, and he is only the 3rd manager in the Pirates' 129-year franchise history to lead his team to the postseason in 3 consecutive years. If you're wondering about the other 2, you may not have heard of Fred Clark. That was in 1901, 2, and 3. And then Jim Leyland, of course, when the Pirates played in then the National League East. They won that division in 90, losing to the Reds in the playoffs, 91 and 92, bowing to Atlanta. So here we go. Jay Sohn, his first season as a National Leaguer. First baseman leading off. The Pirates haven't had a first baseman lead off since Gary Redus, the one-time Red, all the way back in '91. This game underway, and it's quickly 1 pitch and 1 out on the tapper to Brandon Phillips. We take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. The only changes from last night, 3 of them. Schebler in left field in place of Duvall. DeJesus at short rather than Cozart, and Barnhart in place of Mesoraco behind the plate. And naturally on the mound, it's Iglesias. Tucker coming off one of his best games as a major leaguer. His last start on Thursday afternoon had 3 hits, also drew a walk. And with Devin Mesoraco coming back off that hip surgery, it would not be a surprise to see Barnhart playing about every 2 or 3 days in the early part of this year. 2-0 on Andrew McCutchen. 5 hits in his first 15 at bats. He was on base twice without a hit last night, scored a pair of runs. And that will get by Suarez in the left field. A 1-out single for Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, they found a hole over there. McCutchen did, hit it sharply. This is an infield grass that, even though it rained last night, the ball gets through the infield fairly quickly. We just haven't had a lot of growing season yet here in Cincinnati to kind of thicken up that grass and slow the ball down.
David Freese, a Pirate third baseman, was on 3 times last night. Was hit by a pitch, drew a walk, had an infield single in front of the Marte grand slam in the 8th inning. He scored a run. 6 hits in his first 17 at bats as a Pirate.
If you're thinking about a stolen base possibility out of McCutchen, not so much as it used to be. He did swipe 18 last year, McCutchen did, or make it 11 last year. His high water mark was the 2nd year he was in the major leagues. That was 2010 when he swiped 33. So he's becoming more of a hitter, a power guy, a leader in the ball club, obviously great center fielder, but not much of a runner anymore.
Nothing in 1 on the Pirate third baseman David Freese. 1 on, 1 out, just underway, and that one runs inside, even accounted a ball and a strike. Today is the 3rd time in the young career of Raisel Iglesias he has faced the Pirates. Remember, he went on that great run last season. You know, he had the 3 straight games where he struck out 10 or more batters. Over the longer haul, he went 7 consecutive starts, all quality. But by the time he saw the Pirates, his season was starting to sort of wind down. He saw him in August, where he lasted just 3 innings and gave up 5 runs. He also won a second start pitching into the 7th, where he only allowed 2 runs. Good breaking ball there to even the count.
Looked like a Bronson Arroyo breaking ball right there.
Yeah, he can drop down and throw that sidearm breaking ball, and that really freezes right-handers. And no pun there with David Freese in the batter's box.
Or the temperatures.
He had a chance that he thought that ball was going to hit him in the left hip. I like the temperature.
Strike 3. So too does Iglesias.
Now this time he goes to the fastball. Look at the comeback action that ball has. I mean, moving way to the outer part of the plate was Tucker Barnhart. I mean, that may have been a mix-up in signals right there, because Barnhart went out like he thought that ball was going to end up in the left-handed batter's box, and it came back and could have been a called strike.
So 2 away in the inning. McCutcheon still over at first, and here's Marte, who clubbed his first career grand slam last night. That came off JJ in the 8th inning, taking the Pirates from 3 down to 1 ahead. And Mark Melancon, along with Feliz, would take care of the last 2 innings in a 6-5 Pirate victory. Slow roller to short, and the inning is over as Votto finds the bag. 1 hit, 1 left. Reds are coming up, and Billy Hamilton is back in that leadoff spot. Brian Price, in his 3rd year as manager of the Cincinnati Reds, scribbles out the lineup card like this. And look who's at the top for the first time all year. Billy Hamilton just got his first hit last night in a stolen base, knocked in a run. Suarez at 3rd, Votto at 1st. Brandon Phillips, a cleanup hitter. Jay Bruce in right. Scott Schebler off to a good start in left. And a latter third of DeJesus, Barnhart, and Iglesias. We talked about Garrett Cole, a 19-game winner last year with an ERA fractionally over 2.5. But his career ERA against the Reds is over 5, the highest by far versus any team that he has faced in his short but extremely productive major league career.
And you wonder if he's faced the Reds enough and has had enough problems with the Reds for that to be some kind of a mental obstacle for him to get over. He certainly has no physical problems. Throws the ball very hard, a devastating slider, just great stuff. Typical #1 type pitcher. If you think about having an ace pitcher on your staff, Garrett Cole is the guy that comes to mind.
0-1 the count on Billy, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Now, Cole was not healthy during spring training. He was hampered by a right rib inflammation during the first week of spring training. He only made 2 official Grapefruit League starts, in addition to throwing 2 simulated games Also pitched in a minor league game. Sinking liner. That's going to fall in. A base hit for Billy Hamilton. And here he comes to second base. And he is in there safely. Can anybody in the game do that? The way they had him played, turn that into a double.
Well, especially against a very good defender in Starling Marte out in left field. He gets to the ball quickly. He's got a good arm. And he was also playing shallow and towards the line. I mean, with 2 strikes, he's playing even a little bit more shallow. He gets to the ball very quickly. The ball never really gets to the fence down there, and a strong throw, but a little bit off the mark.
They talked about Marte. He won a Gold Glove last year. So Hamilton making it happen right from the get-go, and here comes a Eugenio Suarez. Told you Billy had his first hit, his first RBI, his first stolen base last night. And he's dancing around out there, drawing the attention of Cole. Strike 1 to Suarez.
Well, you know the job that is ahead for Eugenio Suarez here. You get the ball to the right side, you move Billy Hamilton over to third. That's a lot easier said than done when you're facing a guy with the arm of Garrett Cole.
Despite only hitting in the 220s last year with an on-base percentage in the 270s, Billy Hamilton still swiped 57 bases last season. And that one is dumped into right field. That'll be a base hit. They're going to wave around Hamilton. He will score. And 2 batters into this one. The Reds jump on Garrett Cole, 1-0.
Opposite field hitting, boy, does it take the day right now. The opposite field 2-strike single by Billy Hamilton, a little inside out work by Suarez. Well, that's the way Don Long wrote it up.
So here's Joey Votto. He has 3 runs batted in, 2 hits in his first 16 at-bats on the season. Suarez a very good lead over there. And that one's down the left field line, but foul. And a nice play down there by a fan in the front row. Bundled up, little extra cushion as the gloves on. Oh my. Attaboy, Dad. Nice. Just like you draw it up. I mean, there's a difference between the game plan and then the execution of it.
You're not kidding about that.
Suarez running, and Votto fouls it out of play. You know, just watching Suarez, who already has a stolen base in the early going of this year. I mean, he's not known as a burner, but just the body language of the way he leads at first base, it tells you that he's not afraid to run.
Well, they're not afraid to run against Garrett Cole. That's the one shortcoming of his game so far. Tough time holding runners on. He gave up 25 stolen bases last year, which is 5th most among National League pitchers. He's kind of long and deliberate when he throws to first base. He'll often use a slide step, and a slide step is somewhere between 1.1 and 1.3, 3.5, which isn't all that bad. But when he does not slide step, he gives the runner an awful big chance to get to second base, or at least get a good jump.
Cole wondering where that pitch missed. Mark Ripperger is a home plate umpire, and fractionally off that inside corner. Joe West, the crew chief at first, Kerwin Danley, the umpire, at second, and Andy Fletcher over at third. Cole, one of the rare few who can say he has been a #1 draft pick not once, but twice. He's 25 years old. He grew up in Newport Beach, California. Coming out of high school at Orange Lutheran High School, a first-round pick, the 28th overall by the New York Yankees, and did not sign. Honored his commitment to go to UCLA. There's a base hit into right center field by Votto, and the Reds with 3 consecutive hits to start this game against Gerrit Cole.
Little breaking ball right there. That's one thing that Gerrit Cole did a lot more of last year than he did in previous years, would just throw that slider. And Joey Votto right there to lace it into right field. He's got to be thinking, I mean, here we go again. What is with this Reds ball club? Why can't I get out here and deal against them like I do other teams?
Cole went 6 or more innings in 26 of his starts last season. He never made it into the 6th inning in any of his 4 starts against the Reds. Strike 1 to Brandon Phillips.
All right, so he had 25 quality starts last year out of his 32. So you take the ones he pitched against the Reds away. I mean, he only had a couple of other hiccups against other teams anywhere
all year. Phillips, a fly ball into right center field. Let's see if Suarez is tagging. I'm sure he is. He takes off, goes to third. Throw will be cut off, so Suarez stands at third base with 1 away in the inning, and Phillips advancing the runner. Take a look at the Pirates on defense, presented by Ford. Very talented outfield trio, Marte, McCutchen, and Polanco. Maybe not quite as crisp defensively in the infield. Freese, Mercer, Harrison, and Jaso. Cervelli hanging the sides. Jay Bruce a chance with runners on the corners and 1 out. Reds a 1-0 first inning lead. Oh, and 1. Jay, the team leader, with 7 runs batted in. Suarez, after the single to bring home Hamilton here in the first inning, right behind it was 6. Can't do any better than that to start the season with runners in scoring position. How about that for Bruce? Perfect. Suarez, the runner at third base. Joey Votto on at first. Cole in front of Bruce. Hit a ball and 2 strikes. And now the count even again. Good crowd on hand here today, especially when you consider we're playing baseball in the 30s. 3-2 on Bruce, but a real nice crowd has turned out, and for those that are still enjoying being in the sunshine, it's not all that bad.
There are a lot of people up there in the upper deck. Good to see.
And there's a base hit into center field by Bruce. That'll bring in another run. The Reds with 2 runs and 4 hits off Gerrit Cole, and they're still rolling here in the opening inning. Bruce's 8th batted in.
Now the Pirates normally shade Bruce even a little bit more to the right side. This ball goes right back up the middle. The shortstop Mercer was playing towards the second base bag, but he was on the third base side of the bag. As you see right here, the ball hit sharply enough that he couldn't get to it. So Gerrit Cole has given up a couple of runs, 4 hits, but he has yet to deliver the 20th pitch of the inning. So he's being pretty efficient.
So here's Schebler's off to a real nice start. His first year as a Red. He had the game-winning hit on Monday, opening day, to beat the Philadelphia Phillies. I beg your pardon, that was in the second game of the year. That was opening night for Schebler. There's a ground ball to Harrison. They get one. The relay throw is in time, and the inning is over. But a very good start for the Reds against Cole. 2 runs, 4 hits, and a 2-0 lead at the end of 1. Performer. Boy, you talk about running in the tall cotton crowd. Chris Welsh, you know all about that. How about this class that Raisel Iglesias is running with as far as lowest batting average by right-handed hitters?
Well, we mentioned, you know, with the way he drops his arm angle. I mean, everybody else on that list, I mean, is on a short list for maybe the Cy Young Award in their respective leagues, certainly. And Iglesias, I think, has got a ceiling like that, to be honest with you. I mean, he may not throw as hard as Jacob deGrom, but he's got a really good idea about pitching, and he mixes it up, and he's got just a devastating breaking ball, especially against right-handed hitters.
And he faces a right-handed batter to begin this inning. He'll go righty, lefty, righty. Francisco Cervelli, the Pirates catching. 4 hits and 15 at bats. 4 runs batted in the early part of this year for Cervelli. 0-2.
The Pirates this year are much more right-handed than they have been over the last few years. They were a team the last few years with Pedro Alvarez in the lineup and Neil Walker in the lineup. They would have a balanced lineup as far as maybe 3 or 4 left-handers in the lineup, maybe even 5 at any one time, depending on who would play in the outfield. They're down to 2 now with Jaso and Polanco as far as lefties in the lineup, and that may make them a little susceptible to right-handed pitchers, especially those righties with a good slider.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Cervelli, and Iglesias comes to the plate. It's lined into center field, a base hit. Gregory Polanco had a rough night last night. 0 for 4, struck out 3 times. He did draw a walk. Polanco, just 24 years young, earlier this week was given a 5-year contract, which will lock him up, if you throw in a club option, 1 more year after that. Not only beyond his arbitration years, but 1 year into his free agency year.
Well, that's really a leap of faith for the Pittsburgh Pirates, because he has yet to have 1 full year of service time in the major leagues.
You know, they've seen flashes of brilliance from this young man, Polanco. I mean, we remember when they brought him up, he was their #1 prospect for a year or 2 before they brought him to the big leagues in 2014. And the only reason they brought him up was because Neil Walker underwent an emergency appendectomy. Polanco hit in 7 consecutive games when they brought him to the big league, the first Pirate to ever do that. But then he'll go into extended droughts. Overall last year, he hit 9 home runs and had 50 extra base hits to go along with 27 steals. So the talent, there's a lot to like, but certainly not polished or refined quite yet.
And I'm not even sure that he has grown into his body yet. I mean, he coming up as a young man in the minor leagues, very tall and thin, had a nice smooth swing, but I still get the feeling he's going to get stronger. His swing will get shorter, more direct to the ball.
That ball hit hard and driven into left center field. Schebler there to cut it off. The runner will go first to third, Cervelli. So the Pirates have him on the corners with nobody out, trailing by 2.
The last 2 hits by the Pirates have been pretty much fastballs that have grooved the center of the plate. Cervelli got one after he looked very bad on a breaking ball, and here Polanco lays out a rope on a fastball out over the plate too.
Number 7 hitter, the pride of Princeton High School and the University of Cincinnati, is Josh Harrison. And his alma mater is remembering him today, Jim Day. You and I were talking before the game. Not only here at the ballpark, but later on tonight over in Clifton.
Indeed, it is Josh Harrison Day there. They have a game at Marchant Field at 6 o'clock, and a poster giveaway of him in his Bearcats uniform and all his glory will be given away to all the fans that show up there. You can see the poster right there. Bearcats in the background, and of course him in his Pirates uniform today. So they're very, very proud of Josh Harrison over there at the University of Cincinnati.
As they should be. Harrison and Kevin Youkilis both drafted within a couple of years of one another out of the University of Cincinnati. Youkilis went on to have an outstanding major league career, which just recently came to an end. Harrison chases a breaking ball and comes up empty, 0-2. UC will be playing UConn later tonight over at Marchant Field, and hopefully that's not the Lady Muskies basketball team. They don't lose much,
and when they win big.
Yeah. Gone on strikes is Harrison. 3 in a row. The second strikeout by Iglesias. 1 out in the inning.
Great example of expanding the strike zone, getting ahead and just working a little bit more outside with each pitch.
So now the number 8 hitter and Pirate shortstop Jordy Mercer off to an excellent start this year. 5 out of 15. He had 2 hits, was on base 3 times last night. Mercer, born and raised, still makes his home in Oklahoma. Played collegiately at Oklahoma State. Also played in international competition on a number of U.S. national baseball teams. And was taken in the 3rd round back in 2008. He's been their regular shortstop now for the 3rd straight year. Few isolated snowflakes tumbling from the partly cloudy skies above. 2-0 on Mercer.
I'm glad you identified those. I thought they were flower blossoms. There's no way.
Maybe they are.
Snowing.
Sounds better though.
Yes, it does.
2-0 the count on Mercer. Runners on the corners, 1 out. And a rocket down to 3rd. A double play's going to end the inning, and how about that? Just like you draw it up. We talked about execution. There you have it. Kids opening day, the first ever kids opening day here at the ballpark, is tomorrow, presented by Frisch's Big Boy. Come on down early. We've got a pregame kids block party, interactive games, a red carpet featuring mascots and more. And don't forget, all kids 14 and younger receive a Reds cap. It's all thanks to Frisch's. 513-381-REDS or log on to reds.com/kids opening day. Now that's a way to come to the ballpark. Guaranteed to stay warm. Don't have to comb your hair, brush your teeth, That's ready to go.
The Bengals fan for all seasons right there. That might be Marvin Lewis.
That might be with that new contract.
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis given a contract extension through the 2017 year. Of course, you can't help but think of the Bengals and the Steelers when you have the Reds and the Pirates. I was standing there with 3 of my buddies and our little boy. That playoff game, we had ponchos on, stood in the pouring rain all night long. I was talking with the Pirates assistant general manager during the game last night for a brief minute in between innings, and it was right after Marte had hit the grand slam. He's like, man, funny game how the emotions can swing. And he brought it up to me. He said, a lot like that Steeler Bengal playoff game. And I think for everybody out there that's a Bengal fan, I don't know if I've ever seen in any sporting event the emotions go so high to so low on 2 plays back to back the way it did in that game. The perfect interception, then the fumble that gave the ball back, and you knew that Big Ben was getting them down the field.
Well, the penalties didn't.
That didn't help. We have Ande Jesus Jr. to start things in the Reds' second inning. He's batting in the 7th spot and getting the start at shortstop for Cozart, another player, of course, who's come all the way back from a season-ending surgery last year. Cozart the knee, Mesoraco the hip, and neither one in the lineup after a late game and a long game here last night. 1-2 Ande Jesus. Started 2 late off.
You know, nice to see some of the extra guys getting playing time, because what often happens is that you play every day when you're in spring training, even if it's just half a game, but you're playing every day, you're getting in the rhythm. But if you're an extra guy on a ball club like De Jesus is, and you come up to the regular season and a #1 shortstop starts ahead of you and you never get a chance to play, you can go 10 days without getting into a ball game and getting more than just 1 at bat or maybe 1 inning on defense.
Well, it's like the Pirates right now. They've started this same group each of their first 5 games of this season.
Guaranteed way to get out of a groove.
De Jesus was behind in the count at a ball and 2 strikes, and he manages to draw the walk. First one given up by Garrett Cole. Boy, the whole body language of Cole very early on here today. Now, granted, things are not going his way. Gave up 2 runs and 4 hits. So it's not like you're dancing around in joy, but just the way he continued to walk around the mound. Not a great posture for a guy who's a #1, your ace, starting for the first time in the season. Oh, he's starting to talk about Cole. He was drafted #1, 28th overall by the Yankees coming out of high school. Did not sign. That is so rare to be a #1 pick and to not sign the contract. He pitched for 3 years at UCLA, and not only was he a first-round pick by the Pirates 3 years after being drafted by the Yankees, but he went from being the 28th pick overall to the #1 pick overall. And he signed that time.
Well, so maybe he made a pretty good decision.
Sure.
Got a nice education, at least for 3 years out of it at UCLA.
Troy Aikman tells me it's a good education. Fastball away.
And I think the money was a lot better when you get the #1 pick.
Yeah.
As opposed to somewhere down the road. Would you say 27th to 28th?
28-1. I mean, they wasted no time with Cole. He did not pitch by the time he signed his contract in 2011. He did not pitch at all professionally that year. They sent him to the Arizona Fall League in the fall of 2011. In 2012, he went single A, double A, triple A. And the next year, he's in the big leagues. Barnhart out of there swinging for the first out of the inning, the first strikeout of the game by Cole. Iglesias only had one sacrifice all of last year. He had 2 hits and 30 at bats. 0 for 2 on opening day this year. Sort of took a stab at it, fouled it away, strike 1. It's a second out of the inning. If they read it's a home run off that Toyota sign way out there in right center field. Charles Filer of Batavia, Ohio, way out east in Claremont County. He'll win that beautiful new Tundra on display here at the ballpark. And you can register for your chance to win it. Just stop by your Cincinnati and or Northern Kentucky dealers. 1 on, 2 out. Reds lead in the second inning 2-0. And the man who started the 2-run first, Billy Hamilton, bats for the second time. On a 2-strike pitch, he doubled down the left field line and scored the first of 2. Two balls and no strikes. Number of other games already underway in baseball. They had to de-ice the tarp, we are told, in Detroit before they could start that game. The Yankees and the Tigers today.
How do you do that?
I have no idea. I just read the headline.
I like doing that too.
It's kind of like the pictures instead of the words. 4-pitch walk to Hamilton. A pair of walks here in the second inning by Cole will give Eugenio Suarez a chance to add to this 2-0 lead. There you get a look in for the seats in right field. Well, those are great seats. We talk about it frequently about, really no matter where you go in this ballpark, you're almost guaranteed of a great seat because it's not too big like some of the ballparks we see around baseball. We love going to Arizona and Chase Field. But that's a stadium of almost 51,000. When you're far away, you're really far away.
Not a bad seat here at all.
Suarez, an RBI single to right field, scoring Hamilton in the first inning, and looks at a breaking ball away. 41 pitches thrown in this game by Garrett Cole. And we're just in the second inning. Little bleeder, shallow center field. McCutchen coming. He'll get there to end the inning. 2 left. We play 2. Reds 2. Pirates nothing.
storylines. The Pirates are off to a quick start the first week of the season, but if they would tank the rest of the month, no sweat off their brow. Look at the last 2 seasons. They started 2014 18-26 and finished with a 70-48 record, 4th best in the National League. And how about last year? 18-22 start, finished 80-42, 98-64 was their record, 2nd best in the National League. But how about winning 98 games and still not tops in the league?
I tell you, it's been an unbelievable run, though, for these Pirates. 3 straight years they've been in the playoffs. We mentioned that Clint Hurdle is only the 3rd manager in the Pirates' nearly 130-year history to accomplish that feat, 3 straight years. As Cole is a swing and a miss away from going down on strikes. Reds lead 2-0 as we begin the 3rd. The Pirates have played in the first 3 one-game playoffs. There's strike 3 call. They beat the Reds in 2013. The last 3, not the first 3. They beat the Reds and Johnny Cueto in Pittsburgh in 2013. And we brought up last night the last 2 years. Unfortunately for them, they have run into the single hottest pitcher in the National League in the one-game playoff. And in both games, not only were they shut out, both games were complete game shutouts. Madison Bumgarner 2 years ago, the Giants went on to win the World Series. Jake Arrieta of the Cubs beat them last year. Of course, the Cubs won the division series over the Cardinals before falling to the Mets in the LCS. Well, now Iglesias will flip away the old baseball, gets a new one. He's fallen behind Jaso 2-0. Pirates got off to a very poor start last year. You may remember the Reds swept them the first 3 games of the year. But starting on May the 1st, it all turned around. In fact, the Pirates had the best record in Major League Baseball from May the 1st on last season. It is interesting to note, however, that you win 98 games. There are only 12 players on this Pirates team that were on their opening day roster this time a year ago. That's a lot of turnover.
It is a lot of turnover, and it might be a philosophy that the Pirates have embraced because they have to embrace it. I mean, they've got a bigger payroll this year than they've had in a long time. But still, they're a team that can't go out and spend like the Yankees or the Dodgers or any other big market team. They're much in the same type market that the Reds are. They've got to figure out ahead of time how they're going to keep their payroll down but still stay competitive.
That one fisted into short left field. It'll fall in a hit for Jaso. He's on his way to second base. Ball gets through, but Votto alertly backing up the play. It's a 1-out double by the Pirate first baseman.
Looks like he got jammed on this ball and just kind of flared into left field and got it way in on the trademark.
Here comes Andrew McCutchen. He singled into center field in the Pittsburgh first inning. Hits are even at 4 apiece, but the Reds lead 2-0. 1 out, 1 on. We're in the 3rd. Straight up into the air and playable for whom? Suarez calling off Barnhart. A much easier play for the 3rd baseman. That's a 2nd out of the inning. This week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to to T-Mobile.com/MLB. Sign up right now. 2 down, 1 more out to go. David Freese struck out his first time up. Now time called as Barnhart going to come out and check in with Iglesias. Only one-day game in the National League today because one's already been canceled. The Marlins and the Nationals called off. Dodgers and the Giants will play in about 2 hours from now. What an unbelievable story that game was last night. A dribbler foul of the third base line for only the second time in the history of baseball. A pitcher in the 8th inning or later throwing a no-hitter was removed from the game. It was Dave Roberts' first-year manager. Ross Stripling in his major league debut had a no-hitter. Through 7 1/3, he walked a batter. His 100th pitch of the game on ball 4 was taken out of the game. 5 pitches later, the man who replaced him allowed a 2-run home run which tied the game, a game the Giants would win in extra innings. Stunning at 100 pitches.
Really is amazing. I mean, it just goes to show you now what the numbers have done to the game. I mean, the number of pitches, for instance, trying to protect the pitcher's arm. I don't know where that number 100 ever came from, but that seems to be the break-even point for a lot of decisions.
Nothing in 2 on Freese. And he barely got a piece of it. You know, you think back, and we weren't at the game last night. We don't know the whole history of Stripling and the whole 9 yards. But when you're that young man and you wake up today, he might pitch and be a 300 game winner. I have no idea. He might pitch for the next 20 years. But will he ever have another opportunity to pitch into the 8th inning with a no-hitter? I mean, some people around here were saying, well, you know, he wasn't going to finish a game anyway. Well, we're not talking about 6 1/3 innings. We're talking about 5 outs away from a no-hitter. If he averages what? The normal average about what, 3.5 pitches per at bat? Right around there somewhere?
Yeah, between 3 and 4.
All right. Say it's 4, the high end. So he throws 20 more pitches conceivably to get 5 more outs?
You know, if you look at the big picture, you just see how baseball has changed so much, because it wasn't all that long ago. We were talking about him before the ball game today, where guys like Robin Roberts were pitching 300 innings per year. Now, if you throw 200, you're a big workhorse.
Low and 2 to Freese again, and again a slider.
And they were, I mean, if you're throwing 300 innings a year, they were usually carrying maybe 9 pitchers on their pitching staff overall, maybe 10. And you were throwing games of 150, 160 pitches every 4 days. Although I did read a quote from a tweet from Ken Rosenthal who said that Stripling's father told Dave Roberts, while he was tearing up, thanks for taking care of my son's arm. So,
okay.
I mean, there's 2 sides to it, no matter how you want to look at it, I guess.
Oh, no doubt. Lengthy at bat here. Count of 2-2 on Freeze. Runner out at second base. And Iglesias finally got him swinging. He went around, and that's it. 4 strikeouts for Rysell. Very sharp and crisp through the front 3. Reds lead 2-0. FS1 from Croatia. Heavyweights will rule the octagon. Ben Rothwell takes on former champion Junior Dos Santos. Plus Gonzaga will take on Lewis. Special time 11:30 in the morning Eastern, only on FS1. Or you can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. We're at Great American Ballpark. First pitch temperature at 37 degrees. But we've had a lot of sunshine so far today, which has made it certainly more than bearable. Reds have a 2-0 lead over Garrett Cole and the Pirates. Part of the order for the Reds here in the third. Votto, Phillips, and Bruce. Reds scored 2 in the first, had 2 on in the second. Cole able to wiggle off the hook. And now coming after him in the third. 2-0. Told you Cole only pitched in 2 official spring training games. He threw 2 simulated games in a minor league game. He most recently threw 97 pitches spanning 6 innings against a number of the Pirates AA players at Pirate City last Saturday. So a full week since he last pitched in any kind of game.
Well, you're right about his body language, though. I mean, he missed the pitch right there, and you could just see the slumping shoulders, the disappointment. And that may not count for really much at all. I mean, it could be just the way the demeanor he is. I don't know Garrett Cole.
Pretty wicked pitch right there at 96 miles per hour to strike out Votto. Second K of the game for Cole.
Awfully good spot. Votto is a guy that doesn't like to pull the ball very much. So if you can put it right there, I mean, that's about the perfect spot. On the black, on the knees, and that's a pitch that Votto more or less really tries to foul off. That's a tough place to get to as a right-handed pitcher, because your tendency is to have that ball run back over the plate a little bit, and that's the one that gets hit very hard.
Here's Brandon. He flied out to center field his first time up. Brandon played on opening day, came down with a stomach flu, was not even at the ballpark once they sent him home prior to the game on opening night. Did not come to the ballpark at all that Thursday afternoon. And then returned last night to the lineup. His first at bat, the very first pitch he saw, he clubbed a home run. He would add a sac fly run batted in, a single, a walk, stole a base. And when he stole the base, there was a wild pitch while he was running to third, and he scored all the way from second. 1-2 on Brandon. You pointed out, Chris, this is something that Phillips is not afraid to try from time to time.
Well, I remember the first time he went first to third on a stolen base against the Pirates when they had a shift on Jay Bruce. That was at PNC Park over in Pittsburgh. This time he goes from second to home. He beat the shift because the third baseman wasn't really ready for him to end up going to third. They had a foot race to third base, and he was able to get there, and a wild throw ended up allowing him to get there. The shift has been refined quite a bit since then.
One hopper to Mercer. 2 out. That'll bring up Jay Bruce to the plate. He knocked in his team leading 8th run of the season with a single in the first inning, which scored Suarez. And Cervelli was shaken up on that play. I'm not sure what happened to him. He waves off any of the trainers, tells him to stay in there. That ball got him right on the thigh, ricochets off the glove, it looked like. I can't remember what the play was last year, but it was a brutal hit that Cervelli suffered in a game against the Reds last season. And we kept saying, or I kept saying, I can't believe this guy is going to stay in the game. I mean, he was injured. He wasn't hurt. And they allowed the medical staff to come out there for a long time. He went back in the dugout. We followed him in the dugout. Was just in an excruciating pain. Yet he stayed in the game and finished the game. And that's something a lot of these Pirates talk a lot about when Cervelli's name comes up, is how tough he is behind that plate. Of course, all those guys are tough.
If you're not tough, you get weeded out of that position in a hurry.
Two and two on Jay Bruce. And that'll do it. Cole, his first perfect inning. He goes through the heart of the order with a pair of strikeouts in the third. We move to the fourth. Reds still lead Cole and the Pirates 2-0.
you have come to expect and more. It includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. I'm Jim Day. Raisel Iglesias climbs the hill again, of Cuban descent, still acclimating himself to America and speaking English. In spring training, the first day that pitchers and catchers reported, it was awesome. He comes up to me and he says in English, "How you doing? And how's the family?" with a big old smile on his face. Then he went on to greet 2 more people. Same thing. "How you doing? How's the family?" It was obvious that he had just gotten out of an English-speaking class, because he doesn't know my family from Adam. But he delivers it with a smile. He knows more and more of what his teammates are saying to him, and he is giving it a go, trying very hard to acclimate himself to his English-speaking, predominantly, teammates.
Good for him. Good for him indeed. Two 2-0 on Starling Marte, leading off the Pirates' 4th inning. Well, how is the family, Jim Day? I mean, since he asked, you never answered the question.
I told him that my family was terrific.
Good.
Thank you for asking.
Okay.
I asked him how his family was doing, and he said good. He understood what I said.
Okay. Three and 1 on Marte, who bounced out to De Jesus, a slow roller to the left side of the infield, back to end the 1st inning. 3-1 offering from Raisel. Straight up in the air, should be out number 1. Phillips out, Bruce in, Jay the catch. Cervelli was born in Venezuela. His mom Venezuelan, his father Italian. And during the World Cup of Baseball, if you will, Cervelli played on the Italian national team. 2 balls and a strike. And it's only fitting. Remember, Todd Frazier had his walk-up song "Fly Me to the Moon" by Frank Sinatra. Cervelli's walk-up song in Pittsburgh is "That's Amore" by Dean Martin. Breaking ball away, although that was not Dean Martin's given name. Changed his name, stage name. Iglesias upset with himself there.
Yeah, he really had Cervelli set up nicely. First couple of pitches in the at-bat, he came inside with fastballs, and then he really went right out on the corner and threaded the needle with a fastball and a breaking ball just off the plate and missed, and came back with a fastball here. And you see when he just meant to throw it outside but needed a strike out of it.
It's his first walk in his 2 starts this season. 7 strikeouts, no walks on opening day. He had 4 strikeouts today prior to that 1-out walk. Now Polanco, who singled hard into left center field his first time up. This ball into left field, tailing away, and it'll fall in a hit. Cervelli caught up between first and second. Schebler throws it into third. So a walk and a single, and the Pirates threatening. They've had at least 1 runner on in each of the first 4 frames.
Boy, Gregory Polanco could not have looked worse last night when he faced Alfredo Simon. Simon had him looking for fastballs in and then throwing that split finger down and away, but he's done a good job today of hitting the ball the other way. Picked up a second hit right there.
Pirates left 1 on in the first. They had 2 on with 1 out in the second. And that's when Iglesias got Mercer to hit into a line drive double play, which ended the inning. Pirates left 1 on in the third. Now 2 on, 1 out here in the fourth. Reds leading 2-0. And Josh Harrison settles in. Harrison struck out on a breaking ball his first time up. Looks at a breaking ball here low. Left 1 in a more hittable area did Iglesias that time, and Harrison fouls it straight back. Came back with a fastball and throws it right by Josh Harrison to get ahead 1-2.
Well, Raisel Iglesias knows well that if you're going to drop down and throw a breaking ball from sidearm, you have to be able to throw your fastball from down there consistently also, or else the hitter is going to know what's coming. And he's mixed them up very nicely. Now we'd like to get one that Harrison rolls over on and turn a double play.
Hooks it into left field, a base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third base. So the Pirates have the bases loaded. 3 straight hitters reached safely after the first batter in the inning was retired, and Jordy Mercer again will bat. In a big situation, he lined into the double play to end the second inning. They're loaded here in the fourth.
Now that's one of those hits right there by Harrison that really he got helped out by the double play depth the Reds had to play defensively. Shortstop snugged a little closer to second base, opened up that hole on the left side, and Harrison was able to find a spot.
Mercer hit the ball right on the nose with runners at first and third in the second inning. A line drive right at Suarez, who doubled the runner up at first base. Breaking ball in there, strike. It's a big batter in this game, knowing the pitcher spot is due up next. This could be 2, and it will be 2. Cincinnati Children's ranking 3rd in the nation on U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals in America. Big special hello, as we do each and every day, to those over at Cincinnati Children's today. The Celestial Ball is later tonight downtown. They're expecting over 1,400 on hand for that. And basically, that's Cincinnati Children's Hospital's way of saying thank you to those who give their time and money and efforts to that incredible hospital on a year-round basis.
Well, I'm glad you're involved so deeply with them, Tom. I want you to have a great time tonight.
I can't wait.
It sounds like a great time.
Can't wait. And it's special for the Reds in that they are going to be honoring and recognizing Susie and Bob Castellini, as well as the Reds Community Fund, which of course has been headed up low these many years by Charlie Frank and his staff. The incredible job they do year-round all over Reds country, not just in Cincinnati. So you talk about two great Cincinnati institutions, Children's Hospital and the Reds. Should be a good night.
One thing that Gerrit Cole has done more of this second time through the lineup is mix in his changeup a little bit. Struck out Jay Bruce to end the inning last inning on a changeup. He's already thrown one here in this at bat to Schebler.
Pirates have left 5 runners on base. They've out hit the Reds 6-4. The Reds had all 4 of their hits against Cole in that 2-run first inning. Schebler, DeJesus, Barnhart due up here in the 4th. Scott had a good swing at that one, fouls it over the screen, out of play. I don't know if there's a guy in baseball that has a smoother windup, and that ball comes out of his hand at 96, 97 miles per hour than Cole. Very little effort, or so it appears from where we sit. Two-hopper at Josh Harrison. That was a 97-mile-per-hour fastball from Cole.
Yeah, and really it is brute stuff that makes Gerrit Cole the pitcher that he is, because if you look at that delivery, and you make a great point, it's very simple. I mean, he takes a very small step back, gets loaded up when he gets his left leg up, and when he goes to the plate, it does look like he's got very little effort. But the question you ask is, how much deception is there? Now, I mean, he's got terrific numbers, won 19 games last year, so he's doing a lot right. It just goes to show you there are a lot of different ways to figure out how to get it done.
That's a foul ball. It got a piece of DeJesus' front left foot.
Take a look at that delivery that you were talking about, Tom, and I mean, he really stays in balance is the one thing that kind of strikes me when you watch Cole. Very small step to get going, and just about as simple as you can get. And there's no doubt that he's getting a little stronger here as the game goes on. He did walk a couple in the second inning. Struck out 2 last inning. So oftentimes when you're facing a pitcher the caliber of Gerrit Cole, to get him, you've got to get him early. And that's when the Reds had 4 hits in the first and scored 2 runs.
Jason knocks it down and recovers in time to pick it up and beats DeJesus to the bag. 2 away. Nobody on. Reds leading 2-0. And coming up later on, as we always do, we'll have our Miller Time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. Bags empty, 2 outs for Barnhart, who struck out his only time up. You know, we talked about the last start 2 games ago for Barnhart when he had 3 hits and really made one of the great plays the early part of this season on that slide into home plate, Jim Day. And I know you had a chance to talk with him about that. He actually went back inside to watch it himself, didn't he?
He did. He went back inside because afterwards he's like, how in the heck did I just do that? He didn't realize, he said he had never practiced it, but was very proud of himself. Check out the slide here, boys. It was a picture perfect slide, and the only way he would have been safe because the ball beat him to it. And he said he had never practiced such a slide, and he doesn't know if he can ever duplicate it.
Well, we said at the time, and when you look at that, and again, you know, he can't explain it, but it certainly did appear as though he went into his slide. The ground was wet. It's very hard even being wet down there because it's so cold. It almost looked like his knee, like a pop-up slide, hit the ground, and his momentum forced him into the air, which ultimately allowed him to touch the plate with his hand. And so, I mean, take a look at it. He'll slide, pops right there, straight up in the air. It's not like he's pushing off with a hand or another leg to make himself go airborne. At least that's the way it looked. Cole gunning for back-to-back perfect innings. It remains 2-2 on Tucker Barnhart. Pride of Brownsburg, Indiana. Well, what a show he put on a week ago today when the Reds were playing these Pirates. That's their AAA home in Indianapolis. It was so cold, Devin Mesoraco was a late scratch. And Barnhart, playing in front of so many family members and friends, got a chance to start, had a monster game. Said it was a great thrill for him playing in his hometown. They had a big crowd for that game too. They had over 14,000 fans, and it was colder there last Saturday than it is here this Saturday. Cole will take care of the Reds in order. He's retired the last 7. Reds in front, 2-0.
Iglesias looking at another very fine pitch ball game, and here's the way he's doing it with a lot of movement on his pitches. Here's the first strikeout they got of David Freese on a ball that started off the plate and then came back. Here he starts one at the plate and it moves away on Josh Harrison. And a little looper right there on the outer corner. All Barnhart has to do is stick his glove out and he gets another strikeout. 2 strikeouts against David Freese. 4 overall on the day for Raisel Iglesias. I mean, this is just essentially what we've become to expect. after watching this young man pitch.
9-1-2 in the Pirates batting order. He struck out Cole his first time up. Jaso next, and then Andrew McCutchen. Reds scored both of their runs against Garrett Cole in the first inning. Got a leadoff double by Hamilton, RBI single by Suarez. Votto had a hit. An out later, Jay Bruce knocked in the second run with a base hit. And De Jesus throws on to first. One away. We invite you to kick off your weekend with a bang. Fireworks Fridays every Friday at the ballpark. The next one's coming up on April the 22nd. The Reds and the Cubbies. And you can do so for as low as $12. We'll have the big fireworks show thanks to Thomas More College after the game. That is April the 22nd. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com. When the Reds come back off this week-long road trip through Chicago and St. Louis, Colorado comes in for 3, and the Chicago Cubs. That'll be a 4-game series. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Cubs lost for the first time last night, falling out in the desert to Arizona. And those two teams will play game 3 of a 4-game set later on tonight at Chase Field. The Detroit Tigers, one of the unbeaten teams in Major League Baseball at 3-0, getting hammered in the bottom of the 4th inning in Detroit by the Yankees today, 6-0. Joining the Tigers among the ranks of the unbeaten, these Pirates and the Baltimore Orioles at 4-0. Orioles will be playing the Rays at home tonight. Two and 2 on Jaso, who is grounded out to Phillips and singled into left field, 1 of 2. San Francisco Giants are 4-1 on the year. Well, what a matchup that'll be later tonight. Actually, this afternoon in San Francisco. That's Madison Bumgarner against Clayton Kershaw. Off the end of the bat, a pop-up short center. Out to the grass is De Jesus for the second out.
The Pirates have gone with a little different look in their lineup this year, with Andrew McCutchen batting in the second spot. And remember that the Reds did that with Joey Votto last year. Clearly, McCutchen and Votto are the best hitters on each respective ball club. And it's almost like the Pirates lineup is one that would be handed down by one of the math majors that they have hired to be in part of their front office. You know, you put your leadoff guys, the guy that gets on base, you put your number 2 man as your best hitter in the lineup, because he's going to get opportunities based on the leadoff man getting on. David Freese takes over the spot at number 3, where McCutchen has been pretty much his entire career.
I would bet that's not going to last. When they get Gung back in the lineup, he's coming all the way back from a broken leg and surgery, and he's on the comeback trail. We'll see how it plays out. It's just hard to imagine the Pirates are going to play all year long with Freese hitting 3rd and Cervelli hitting 5th. But, you know, we saw Votto last year move into that 2 spot, Chris, and, you know, you bring up the point. I mean, McCutchen is their best player. And it's always been believed that your best hitter bats number 3. But if you're getting him to the plate how many more times over the course of the year, you know, whatever that number is, the point is you're getting him to the plate with more frequency and maybe a chance to do some damage. Certainly the chances of having as many runners on base would not be the same. Batting 2 as opposed to 3.
You know, I know that there have been so many studies done, statistical studies, that, you know, come up with a lot of different answers on that. But I really don't know the right answer, and I'm sure that there are managers out there that are searching for it as we speak. Everybody's looking for that leadoff man that gets on as much as Joey Votto.
And the Pirates, one of the few teams, and perhaps right now it's by necessity, that is having a first baseman who gets on base actually hit leadoff. Fly ball to right, and Bruce in the track will haul it in. That is the first perfect inning of the game for Rysel. He's working on a shutout. Has a 2-0 lead, middle of the 5th.
Continues tomorrow. A Sunday matinee will bring the finale of this Pirates series. Reds Live gets everything started at 12:30. April in the OHIO is presented by Meyer. It's a big day tomorrow for Tim Melville, who will make his major league debut. It's a guy they stretched out in spring training just in case, and that just in case scenario is tomorrow. Terrific young man. If you haven't met him, guys upstairs. And he's had to overcome a lot of obstacles in his career to get to this point. We wish him all the best tomorrow.
Indeed we do, and we'll be right here. All the action on Fox Sports Ohio, your exclusive home for Reds baseball. Reds Live gets underway again, as we did today at 12:30. Now, are you back on the set tomorrow, Jim, or are you back in your regular role tomorrow?
I am back on the set tomorrow, and I actually get to do the game show, which I haven't done for a while.
Really?
Tomorrow. Yes. So you think you're a Reds fan? I'll be Bob Barkering it.
Big day. Love it. Iglesias to lead things off against Cole here in the Reds 5th. Reds 2, Pirates nothing. Cole's retired 7 in a row. It's been anywhere from 17 to 21 pitches in each of the front 4. So he has gone by the 80 pitch mark as we're now 4 pitches into this 5th inning. Antonio Cole did not get through the 6th last year in any of his 4 starts against the Reds.
Giving Iglesias a little of Iglesias' own medicine, meaning he's throwing a couple of sliders up there, just the way Iglesias handled Cole.
Comebacker to the mound, and that's out number 1, and that's 8 in a row retired by the Pirate ace. And here comes Billy Hamilton. Hamilton has been on base twice. Double to start the game down the left field line, scored, and then drew a walk in the second inning. That is precisely what every Reds fan wants to see Billy Hamilton start to do. Obviously get on base more often and make something happen. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, Jim Day, what was it he told you on opening day when he walked over down by the on-deck circle?
He said, "This is my year. I know I can do it. I'm going to do it, Jim Day. Let's go." The way he says it, let's go.
You do a good imitation of Billy Hamilton. Let's hear the whole thing. How did he say it? You do a really good imitation of him.
Man, it's a year right here. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do it. Listen, I know the pressure's on this year. I'm going to do it.
That's as good as it gets, man. And Billy gets a chuckle out of that when you've done that before. So
I have done it in front of him, yes, so I'm not talking behind his back. He does get a kick out of it.
that pitch right there is really the pitch at the end of the day, or pitches close to it, that if Hamilton can lay off of and put himself in more situations like this at 3-2, he enhances his chances of getting on base. That 2-2 pitch, which was never a strike but close enough to be enticing, and we've seen him strike out on it. That time he did not attempt to swing.
Yeah, you're right. And that and the pitch is up and away, that when he does make contact with, he just really can only do anything but fly, just pop it up.
Well, that's strike 3 called on the outside corner. That's a pitcher's pitch right there. 4 strikeouts for Cole. And 9 in a row retired.
Well, I get your point. I mean, that it resulted in a strikeout anyway by taking that pitch. But wouldn't you rather see him go one more pitch in that at bat and lay off that down and in slider? And maybe he read that pitch as the pitch was going to be outside, or maybe too low. You come along a little bit at a time.
Good breaking ball there to Suarez. Cole really in a groove right now. He's retired 9 in a row. And I mean, a ball has not left the infield. Not one since the final out of the second inning. One ball and 2 strikes on Suarez. And it's off the outside corner to even the count. Fought off by Suarez over near the first base line, and Jaso dives into the stands to try and get it. Classy move there, shakes a guy's hand and helps pull him up. I think you like the guy's hack.
I think they wanted to trade wigs there.
Well, you've seen those hats that come with the dreadlocks on them. Are you suggesting that's what Jaso is wearing over there?
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's something that Jim Day could find out. Well, that is.
So if by chance they were both wigs, Jasos with the dreadlocks, or that fella with the visor and the red and white, you know, mohawk kind of haircut going. Which of the two would you prefer?
Oh, I'd go with the dread look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have the other look almost naturally going right now.
Did you say almost?
I mean, it's just a lighter. Actually, it looks like a Bronson Arroyo version of a Johnny Cueto dread.
Yes.
So I'm sure he probably liked Arroyo and he liked Cueto and he couldn't decide. So we blended them together.
I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, but you know, everything you read about him, articles you read about him, I guess he's a really well-liked guy. A lot of fun to be around. Read a story on him how he grew up in Northern California, and he's a real outdoorsy kind of guy. Always has been his whole life. I guess at the end of every baseball season, I was just reading an article where he goes on a long hiking camping trip, and he's actually gone by himself a few times through the years. But he took his girlfriend with him, who had never been on such an excursion, and it is on that hiking trip and that camping trip where he asked his girlfriend then to get married. Swinging a foul ball back out of play. It just seemed like, you know, a pretty cool guy. She did say yes, by the way. Our producer Josh Hall is asking, well, what did she say? What a beautiful piece of hitting that is by Votto. That is just a beautiful piece of hitting. Not trying to overdo it. He was choked up even a little further on that bat than we've seen him.
Well, the count is no balls and 2 strikes. And you know, it's almost like when you get Votto 0-2, he's got you right where he wants you. And Clint Hurdle's going to make a pitching change.
So this is the same story for Cole against the Reds as last year. We told you he went 6 or more innings in 25 of his starts last season, but not one time did he get through the 6th inning in 4 outings against the Reds, and he doesn't get through the 5th today. 4 2/3 frames, trailing 2-0. He'll leave. After Cole had retired the first 2 batters in the inning, he walks Suarez, allows a single to Votto, and now they bring in Archimedes Caminero from their bullpen.
Yeah, from one hard thrower in Gerrit Cole to even a harder thrower in Caminero. And
mean, he's pretty much generally viewed as about the third hardest thrower in all of baseball, averaging up around 98, 99 on his fastball.
Clearly off to a good start, pitching for the third time. Brandon Phillips with runners at first and second and 2 away. We're in the last of the 5th inning. And it's in a short left center field. It'll fall in a hit, which will bring in another run. Throw goes to third. Votto's out there. So the run will count because Suarez hit the plate before the runner was tagged out at third. So Brandon Phillips knocks in another run, his third in the last 2 days. 3-0 Reds in front. Raisel Iglesias to face David Freese to begin the inning, and he's probably nicknamed Raisel the human slider today.
Well, he's seen him twice. He struck him out both times, and you're right. It is slider after slider after slider. And David Freese must think, well, they've got my scouting report down because it's worked. You stay patient with what works, and that's what Iglesias has done. And he's come up with 2 punch-outs against Freese.
There has been a pitcher in the history of baseball, and I'm sure there's been more than one, but most recently a pitcher that was nicknamed the human slider. In fact, we just saw him as part of the Philadelphia Phillies broadcast team, and that's Larry Anderson. And boy, he had a good one. Anderson had an excellent career, really good career.
Well, the overall theory on throwing too many sliders. Now, Anderson was primarily a reliever.
Sure.
But from a starter standpoint, when you're out there throwing 100 or maybe 120 pitches a game, and if you're throwing, 35% sliders or so, which is about where Raisel Iglesias sits, then at least he did his last start. You tend to maybe hurt your fastball a little bit. And there also is some theory that that slider is harder on your arm health-wise than a fastball.
Well, he dropped down and delivered one there, just a little bit low.
I'm not so sure I really call all those pitches a slider, though. I mean, I know he kind of changes speeds on him. I mean, it's almost a hard curveball, but I know you're kind of splitting hairs when you're trying to figure out what you call him.
Jam shot pop up. Hamilton will get there, and that's out number 1. Iglesias is coming off his first perfect inning of the game. He has escaped 2 pretty dicey situations. Pirates had runners on the corners in the second inning. Jordy Mercer hit a rocket right at Eugenio Suarez, who then fired across the diamond to double up the runner at first. That ended the second inning. And then it was Mercer in the fourth with the bases loaded and only one out. Hit a high chopper over the mound that Iglesias tried to get. Thankfully, it was out of his reach, and the shortstop De Jesus was right behind him, fielded the ball, tapped on the bag, threw to first, inning over. And since that double play, it's now 5 in a row retired by Raisel Iglesias. That tied up Marte. Fastball, no balls and 2 strikes. Gone swinging is Marte. That's 5 strikeouts for Raisel.
Boy, he's working him in, working him out. I mean, he's essentially has 2 types of pitches. One that goes into a right-hander, the other goes away. And then you start mixing up some speed changes, and now you've developed 2 pitches into about 6 different pitches.
Iglesias an out away from back-to-back perfect innings. In 6 innings of shutout baseball, he faces Cervelli, who's reached twice. Breaking ball in there, strike. Cervelli has singled to center field in the second inning. And the only walk Iglesias has issued through his first 2 starts, spanning nearly 12 innings, was walking Cervelli in the fourth. That ball stung into right center field, and Cervelli on board for the 3rd time today.
Now they got a hit off a fastball his first time up. That time he gets a slider that Iglesias got up in the zone a little bit. Boy, he stays right in there on this pitch. It's one of those that more spins than breaks.
And this is a part of the batting order that, you know, for a guy working on a shutout, he has given up 7 base hits. And it's just part of the batting order that has been his greatest challenge so far. You have Cervelli on base all 3 times. The guy now, Polanco, is 2 for 2, a pair of singles. Then you have Harrison, who's 1 of 2. So 5 of the Pirates' 7 hits have come from this trio.
Well, both of the hits that Gregory Polanco has collected today have been opposite field hits, and they've both been on pitches on the outer part of the plate. I'm wondering if maybe they'll try to come inside on Polanco here, or keep staying away, saying, hey, if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to hit the ball out of here the other way. You make a mistake coming inside to him and he gets that bat going, it can be a lot closer game than 3-0.
And they work him away. He started to late off, and now Iglesias behind Gregory Polanco, 2-0.
Well, that's where Alfredo Simon was so effective against him last night, just coming in with a fastball and getting him out on the off-speed stuff away. It's about as old a scouting report as there is.
Blake Wood begins to get loose in the Reds bullpen. He has thrown the ball really well his first 2 appearances wearing a Reds uniform. Came on to pitch a ninth inning of scoreless baseball last night. Iglesias, this will be his 92nd pitch of the game. And Iglesias, much like Garrett Cole, did not get a lot out of spring training, as they continue to work on strengthening his right shoulder in Iglesias' case. Just off the outside edge, 3-1 now on Polanco. That's ball 4. So the tying run comes to the plate. And Mark Riggins looks like he might be coming out for a visit. Pacing around in that dugout, and here he comes up the steps. Let's check in downstairs with Jim Day. Jim, it's very, very cold, even as we move on through the middle part of the day.
Yeah, last night Alfredo Simon said mid-game he could not feel his fingers anymore, and this is about when the cold sets in. And I asked Brian Price, how do you coach these pitchers up through the cold?
The key is to not allow yourself to cool down. If that means, you know, getting your jacket on, getting inside, getting on a stationary bike, going into the batting cage and throwing a little bit between innings to stay warm and loose. Those are the most important things, and making sure you keep your hands warm over the course of the ball game, because once your hands get cold, a tendency is to lose feel for the ball on your fingertips.
Imagine the adrenaline's going though right now. Big at bat in this game.
You're right about that. Reds lead 3-0. It's Harrison with 2 on and 2 out. And it's ball 1. You know, I made the comment during the game last night that, you know, if you're a pitching coach, you know, it wouldn't be the kind of game that you would necessarily want to, you know, show to all your young pitchers. And Chris, I asked you at the time, could weather have something to do with it? You thought it might. There were 11 walks in the game last night and 3 hit batsmen. Well, that's just so out of the ordinary.
And the way the defense played too.
Base hit center field. They are going to wave the runner. Hamilton has a great arm. Here comes a throw to the plate. It gets away from Barnhart. And both runners are going to advance on a single by Harrison, who makes it a 3-1 game.
I remember Billy Hamilton had shoulder surgery over the winter, so every time he throws the ball like that, it's a test of how that arm feels. He went about halfway through spring training this year without playing in the field because they didn't want him to strain that arm.
Well, the day is over for Raisel Iglesias, and just another rock-solid outing by this young right-hander. He had retired the first 2 here in the 6th inning. Allowed a single, a walk, and now a run-scoring single, and he'll leave to a nice round of applause from the crowd at Great American Ballpark. Blake Wood will try and get the final out of this 6th inning and trying to keep the Reds in front 3-1. Manny Iglesias.
Well, he's fun to watch, too. I mean, he's a guy, Tom, that hasn't, you know, really learned how to pitch like so many American pitchers that have come up, you know, lifted weights, did the heavy ball program, tried to get their velocity up. He just learns how to pitch. And I love his feel for pitching. He's coming out of the ball game now in kind of a dicey situation, a couple of runners on, which could tie the game. But 2 outs, and Blake Wood comes on.
Wood to face Mercer, who has bounced into a pair of huge double plays in this game, or hit into a pair. One of them was a line drive, the other one a ground ball double play with the bases loaded to end the 4th inning.
Got to remember that Blake Wood has got a little emotions going on right here. He spent the year last year as the closer for the Pirates AAA team in Indianapolis. So he knows these guys.
And he just works over Mercer. I mean, that's just abuse. That's a 94-mile-an-hour fastball that just chews him up. Good work by Blake Wood. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 6th, leading by a pair. Under the lights in a Lone Star State, first night race of the year. Sprint Cup Racing, sponsored by KFC at 7 Eastern on Fox, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Caminero came on to relieve Garrett Cole. The final numbers on Cole: 4 2/3, 5 hits, 3 runs earned. Walk 3, fan 4. Reds will have Bruce Shebler de Jesus leading 3-1. Bruce, an RBI single to center in the 1st inning, struck out against Cole in the 3rd. Pulled foul. And he went around. They appealed down to 3rd on a fastball up and away at 100 miles per hour.
Guy's got a good arm, and that's an understatement. Our Fox Tracks has it at 98, but who's to quibble over a couple of miles an hour.
So now Shevlin pulled hard, and it scoots right by Harrison. That'll more than likely be schooled in error, but that ball was kissed by Shevlin.
Harrison went down to get his body in front of it. It looked like he was stationary, and that ball may have taken a bad hop on him. Plus, the fact that it got to him in a hurry.
Strike one on Ivan De Jesus Jr. He drew a walk in the second inning and bounced out to Jaso at first in the fourth. 3 runs, 6 hits, and error, 4 left for the Reds. 1 run, 8 hits, and error, 7 left for the Pirates. We are in the bottom of the 6th inning at Great American Ballpark. Temperatures have stayed pretty much where they started. High 30s, maybe 40. And the Reds are on their way to Chicago. I made the comment the other night that it seems like the Cubs have become the featured prime time opponent for the Cubs at Wrigley Field just in the last year or two, and that was not an exaggeration. This 3-game series coming up will feature all night games. Only the 6th time ever they've done that, but it's the 4th time in the last 3 years the Reds have played under the lights for 3 straight games. And one of those other series had 2 night games on a Saturday and Sunday night. Runner goes, and now caught in a rundown is Shevlin. So the Pirates guessed right, and they cut down Shevlin for the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, the way that Scott Shepard looked back about halfway down here, right there when he's taking off, he's probably showing me anyway, it was probably a hit and run rather than a straight steal. And with a pitch out, there's no use even to swing the bat for Ivan De Jesus. Either they guess right or they've got the sign.
De Jesus lifts one to right. Polanco is there, and the Reds are gone in the 6th. We're off to the 7th. A tight one like last night. Reds lead the Bucks 3-1. Raisel Iglesias warming the hearts of Reds fans so far here today. Those are those fleece blankets they gave away today. Those babies are nice.
They are nice.
My son has one of those on his bed every night. They're sweet. And they're great this time of year. You know, I was talking with a couple of buddies of mine. You know, our kids had sporting events this morning, even outside in this cold, and a couple other friends of mine, their kids the same thing. 9 o'clock in the morning, it's like 25 degrees, and you're wondering if you signed up for a wintertime sport. Those blankets are perfect for days like today when you're out there at a kid's sporting event or something outside when it's chilly. Blake Wood got the final out, stranding the tying run at second base in the 6th. And this is Matt Joyce. He is hitting for Caminero. You know, you brought up something about Wood last year, serving as the closer for the Pirates AAA team in Indianapolis, led the International League with 29 saves, and now he might be pitching with a little bit extra edge about him against guys he knows. I would also imagine that somewhere deep down, I mean, let's face it, Wood was with Indianapolis the whole year.
Yeah.
He watched a lot of guys come up, a lot of guys go down, and when guys come down, they got to call somebody else up. And not one time did they ask him to come up. So while they gave him a golden chance to be the closer for their AAA team, they never gave him the opportunity to pitch for the big league club. And I'm not suggesting they should have. I have no idea. But that is a reality, that there were guys called up and sent down, and he wasn't one of them.
Hey, wherever you can find that extra motivation, you go for it. Speaking of that AAA club, we're being watched right now up in Columbus by the voice of the Indianapolis Indians.
Yes.
Longtime radio announcer and a good one, Howard Kelman.
Yes, he is.
He was announcing Indianapolis Indians games when I played there.
He's done a great job for a long time. Good guy, too. Really good.
Really
guy.
good. Not a good formula to get the inning going.
Leadoff man aboard in a 2-run game that brings a tying run to the plate, and we roll over to the top of this Pirate batting order. Jaso, the hitter, 1 of 3, singled back into third. Wood was one of the very, very few. In fact, to my knowledge, he was the only one, unless I'm forgetting somebody, of pitchers the Reds brought in here during the offseason where he was actually signed to a major league contract. So he is a true free agent pitcher, not invited in on some minor league deal.
And not a minor league free agent.
No.
He signed a big league deal. I think it was the only major league deal the Reds made in the entire offseason.
Staley, technically, yeah, Staley was given a major league contract, but that's after he had been claimed on waivers. Wood was the true definition of an off-season coveted player that you signed to a major league contract. Been pitching since 2006. Falls behind 2-0.
Yeah, he's flying open a little bit right now, and you just wonder, maybe it's the nerves, maybe pitching against these guys, although he didn't have John Jaso on his team as a teammate, or probably didn't even know him.
That one hit down a left field line into the corner, and that'll be a base hit for Jaso. Schebler fires it back into the infield, and the Pirates have second and third with nobody out, down by 2. Jaso's a nice looking hitter. You brought it up last night, Chris. This guy, He knows what he's doing at the plate.
Well, he does, and very quietly he is having himself a very fine career. I mean, if you start comparing him to other players, he's got the same base on ball rate as Mike Trout, the same on base percentage as Freddie Freeman, and a stat that I know you're big on, the weighted runs created plus. He's right there with Prince Fielder.
Do you know how they figure out that stat?
No, and I'm not really about to try.
Okay.
I saw the formula and kind of hazed over and turned the page.
Okay.
But it sounds impressive.
Yeah, it sounds really impressive. Sounds like something that comes out of the State Department.
Which I could probably understand that about as much as the real formula for runs created.
I understand. Well, the Reds just now are getting a pitcher warmed up in the bullpen. It looked like they had decided this inning belongs to Blake Wood, but they might be rethinking that position now after a leadoff walk followed by a double. We're in the 7th inning, and the Reds with a 3-1 lead, and we're getting into the heart of this lineup now. Here's McCutchen. Bouncing ball to first. Votto going to look to run her back. And the runner to second is out at second base. What a huge play.
Very nice play by Joey Votto.
That is as big a play as you'll ever see on defense. And Hurdle's going to take a look and may challenge this call.
Well, Jaso's heading to third base right here because he's certain that that runner from third is going to try to score. And on his way back, the throw off balance by Joey Votto. He looks to run her back and then throws off balance, and a good enough throw to be able to get him.
And naturally, he is going to say, let's take a look at this, and that they will do. The umpire who made the call is Kerwin Danley at second. He'll be joined on the headphones over on the third base side in front of the Pirate dugout by the crew chief Joe West. So this is the first challenge to a call on the field that we have seen this year in a Reds game.
Well, the fans at the ballpark are being treated to seeing it a couple of times. We'll take an even better look. Boy, it's hard to tell. I don't know about you.
Well, after last year, and I think you and I agree, we saw so many plays where we thought they were going to flip it. They didn't. So many plays we thought they wouldn't flip it that they did. So the prediction game is over for me. Done. Let them decide.
This is so close it may take a while. You know, I still think that the whole process could use a little streamlining. I'm not sure how to do it, but they have limited the amount of time a pitching coach or a manager has on the mound, you know, to make a visit. And I'm thinking maybe the next step here with the review is to limit the amount of time you have to make a decision in New York.
And again, for those of you that don't know, there's actually an umpiring crew which is assigned to New York City to not work on the field, but to work in the instant replay central command. And they're the ones back there looking at it. They've already been looking at it. They're still apparently looking at it. Wise choice for the it's very cute. The old song "Tell Me Something Good" for the music selection while we wait on this.
Clever.
Very clever. It's an oldie but goodie. Jim Strickler used to be grooving back in the day to that one. Tell me something good. And they follow that up with a little Tom Petty. The waiting is the hardest part.
Well, especially the waiting at the ballpark when the temperature is in the high 30s.
Yep. Here we go. Looks like we're going to get
a little bit.
It looks like we're getting a decision. Come on, Joe. Runners out.
Tell me something good.
And the waiting not so hard. The call stands as the official ruling. So you go from second and third, nobody out, to runner at third, 2 out.
That's a great play by Votto.
And De Jesus to get over there. I mean, that's his job to get there, but a lot of times guys just fall asleep, but Ivan all over him. So well done on both ends. And now it's up to Wood to try and put an end to this threat. Runner at third, and Freese, the batter, has struck out swinging twice and popped up to center field. Wood a long look in. Now OK's assigned with Barnhart. 2-0 on David Freese.
There's that slider. Guessing fastball all the way from Wood and got the wrinkle.
And that was a pitch that seemingly pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch in the first 3 at bats against Freese. That's all he saw from Raisel Iglesias. Reds lead 3-1. We are in the 7th inning. Good fastball there at 95 miles per hour to even the count. Got him swinging. 96 mile per hour fastball by Wood. 7th inning stretch time at the ballpark. Reds lead the Pirates 3-1. To the next Super Saturday. That'll be April the 23rd. Cubs will be in town. First 25,000 fans get a Votto-matic Super bobblehead. Reds and the Cubs. You can get here for as low as $12. Call 381-REDS or log on to Reds.com today. Pirates will go to their bullpen. Bring on Kyle Lobstein. One of 3 left-handers in that Pirate bullpen. Tucker Barnhart, the batter, fouls it off. Devin Mesoraco waits in the on-deck circle. That is the pitcher spot next. And then to the top of the order with Billy Hamilton. Reds lead 3-1. Tucker 0 for 2. Well, there have been 3 huge plays in this game in critical situations where the Reds have come out smelling like a rose. You go back to the 2nd inning, 1st and 3rd. It was a 2-0 game at the time. Reds in front. Mercer hits a rocket at the 3rd baseman that turns into an inning-ending double play. Fast forward 2 innings later, as Mercer picks it up, fires to first. Good play.
Boy.
But Mercer was a batter again in the 4th inning. Bases loaded, 1 out. Chops one over the mound. Turns into a 6-3 inning-ending double play. And then the play a moment ago, 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Ground ball to Votto. Gets the out at first. And they catch the runner Jaso too far off the bag to tag him out for a double play.
I mean, you could feel the momentum in that inning just building and building, and all of a sudden just snuffed out by that play by Votto.
Reds have Caleb Cotham getting loose in the bullpen. He will pitch the 8th inning. Wood goes an inning and a 3rd in relief of Iglesias. Does not allow a run. Walked a batter, struck out a batter, gave up a hit, and Depp a single off the bench. Here's Billy. He has doubled, scored, walked, and struck out. So on base twice in his 3 plate appearances today. Turns around a bat from his stronger side, the right side. And looks at a strike. Good eye by Hamilton. 2 balls and a strike. Foul ball, not by much. Mesoraco is going to have to jump on a motorcycle to keep Hamilton from catching him if that ball went in the corner. I mean, Hamilton was already over halfway up the first base line, not playing the role of the umpire. Back to the mound. That's all they're going to get. Although very close. Boy, Mercer cut that thing loose, man. It took so long to develop there, waiting on Mercer to get to the bag, that you thought no chance, and they almost turned it.
Well, Lobstein did a nice job of waiting to make sure he didn't get that ball there too early and leading that shortstop ahead of time. He gets it back to him. He sets his feet and he throws a nice strike. I mean, leads him nicely once he gets there. So I would imagine here that Billy Hamilton would be very aggressive in this situation heading to second base.
Billy was late getting his lead on that first pitch, almost a quick pitch by the Pirate left-handed. And you got to wonder if Billy's ever seen this guy at all in person.
Oftentimes with a left-hander, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you're going on first move.
This ball is hammered.
Really
In a deep left center field, and the Reds get the long one from Suarez. Team leader with 3 home runs is Eugenio Suarez. And now a 5-1 Cincinnati advantage.
It's a big one right there. Suarez is just so strong. And that's just about as smooth a swing as you're going to see. Really packs a lot of power, Suarez does. I get the feeling he likes batting in front of Joey Votto.
Joey today 2 hits and 3 at bats. Pair of singles, 1 to right, 1 to left. That is a huge home run by Suarez. What a difference in just the way you feel going into the 8th inning. Up by 2 as opposed to leading by 4. Huge difference. You know, the 2 guys on this Reds team, one in the pitching staff and the other among the position players, where you say to yourself, you're not quite sure where that ceiling is going to be for either one of them, are the 2 that have been front and center here today. I mean, Iglesias is a guy you continue to watch. I don't know how you don't like him more and more when you see him, and you wonder, how good can this guy really be? And the same thing is true for Suarez.
Yeah.
Because what we saw last year out of Suarez, I don't know how you don't come away saying, this guy's got a chance to be a legitimate stud in your lineup.
There's no doubt about it. And I think we talked about that a lot last year. We said the same about Raisel Iglesias. I mean, it was interesting that they traded, obviously, Alfredo Simon to get Suarez. But the signing of Iglesias was especially interesting in as much as there are a lot of other teams that were interested. They were just scared off. They didn't think he was big enough. They didn't think he was durable enough. And that's an excellent job of scouting by the Reds to nab him. And I think he's got as high a ceiling as anybody on that ball club.
And it continues for Brandon Phillips. All this action on a near miss double play. That's a foul ball. They almost turned a rare double play with Billy Hamilton as the trail runner. Almost. But again, it's little things like speed that so frequently get overlooked when you start crunching some of the numbers and evaluating players. And there aren't more than a handful of guys that would have beat out that play. And it kept the inning alive for Suarez to hit one in the seats or on the berm. And now you have a chance for even more after a walk to Votto, 0-2 to Phillips. Mercer will beat Votto to the bag to end the inning. But a big, big 2-run home run off the bat of Eugenio Suarez puts the Reds in front by 4. Summary. Raisel Iglesias on the mound, coming off such an impressive performance on opening day. Same held true today. Gives up 1 run in nearly 6. 3 enormous plays on defense for the Reds. Most recently in the 7th, Votto fires behind the runner trying to get back to the second base bag. Pirates asked for a review. The call stood. And then Suarez in the bottom of the 7th inning takes it from a 2-run lead to a 4-run lead with his team best 3rd home run of the season. Starter is still the pitchers of record. Iglesias for the Reds, Garrett Cole for the Pirates, and now Caleb Cotham comes on to pitch to the 3rd time this year.
2nd time in 2 days, as he was in a ball game last night, pitched an inning. Was not scored upon. He's been very impressive. I guess what we're getting here is watching Brian Price beginning to determine how the back end of the bullpen is going to lay out. Right now it looks like it's still completely undecided. I mean, he probably has some trends going here. You bring Blake Wood in a key situation. You're using Cawthon at the very end. And in games you're winning, those are the games, if you're a reliever, that you want to be in.
The only member of the bullpen we have not yet seen is Dan Straley in a regular season game. They had Ohlendorf start the 8th inning last night. He retired the first 2 before allowing 3 base runners in front of the grand slam, which ultimately won the game for the Pirates. You mentioned Cawthon for a 2nd straight night. We saw Wood last night, as that's a foul out to start the inning off the bat of Marte. We also saw Tony Cingrani last night, and Jumbo for that matter. So the only pitchers that did not pitch out of the Reds bullpen that are available down there in the game last night were Sampson and Straley. One out in the 8th inning, and here's Cervelli. It's been a good day offensively for Cervelli. 3 plate appearances, 3 times reaching base, 2 singles, a run scored, and a walk. Reds trying to even this series at a game apiece, clearly letting one get away last night. That was a tough one to put your head on the pillow late last night. 3-1 on Cervelli.
But it's one of those games that the sooner you put it in the rearview mirror and forget about it, the better, as long as you learn something from it. Those are the words that Mark Riggins was kind of reciting to me before the ball game today about letting them get going after you've already had 2 outs.
Boy, Cervelli has been impressive now. 3rd hit, 4th time he's been on base. We remind you again, this week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Just go to T-Mobile.com/MLB and sign up now. Gregory Polanco, after a very ugly night last night, has had a really good game today, like the guy batting in front of him. In fact, neither Cervelli nor Polanco has been retired by Reds pitching today. Cervelli 3 of 3 with a walk. Polanco 2 of 2 with a walk. Fastball 92 miles per hour, catches the outside corner. 1 ball and 1 strike. Broken bat, long run for Hamilton, but he covers ground for the 2nd out.
Ball went a long way for a bat that shattered, and there's the end of it.
Oh boy, scary. Look at that. And you could see the face of Cotham. He was following the path of the baseball, not even knowing the bat was coming right by him.
Probably just as well.
Harrison 2 of 3, struck out his first time up, has singled each of the last 2 times. If you weren't with us earlier, we were talking about Harrison. Jim Day telling the story that tonight, I'm sure it'll be a very pleasant night for a ball game over at UC tonight. UC will host UConn at Marge Schott Field. And they're going to be giving away posters of Josh Harrison, this University of Cincinnati alumnus, with pictures on the poster of Harrison wearing his UC uniform back in his playing days for the Bearcats, and in his big league uniform with the Pirates. Two and two on Harrison. 2 away, runner at first. Reds lead by 4. We're in the 8th. And this ought to do it for the Bucks. Bruce will get there, and that's that. Cotham, a shutout 8th. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th, leading 5-1. TV, Reds fans, you can now stream Reds games live on your mobile device when you can't get to a TV. Just go to your app store, download the free Fox Sports Go app. You log in and then stream the Reds wherever you go. 30 minutes before the start of every game, you come your way with Reds Alive here on Fox Sports Ohio. It's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Mañana 12:30. Jim Day breaking the news a short while ago that Tim Melville will make his major league debut in place of the injured Anthony DeSclafani. DeSclafani is officially not on the disabled list. So this is a roster move which will correspond, or have a move that will correspond prior to the game tomorrow. When the Reds send down Robert Stevenson, they brought up, Brandon Allen from the minor leagues, and we'll see, unfortunately, who the odd man out will be tomorrow, so Melville can start that game. Jeff Locke, been around for a while now. Young left-hander, still a relatively young left-hander, will start it for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That'll be his 2016 debut. So Locke officially is the number 5 starter in that Pirates rotation. After you go with Liriano, Garrett Cole, Jonathan Neese, and Juan Nicasio. Strike 3 called to Jay, and he knew it. Tomorrow is also the first ever kids opening day. I mean, we're going to have a pre-game kids block party, interactive games. We'll have a red carpet featuring mascots from really all over town. UC, X, you name it, NKU. All kids 14 and younger receive that Reds cap that Jim Day's been wearing around. It's all brought to you by Frisch's. And I think Jim lifted that from somebody. I hope not from some kid. And he's been wearing that thing around the last 2 days. Hook to the right side by Schebler. He's thrown out. 2 away in the 8th. Ivan De Jesus Jr. 0 for 2 has drawn a walk. Reds are going to get J.J. Hoover back on that mound here in the 9th inning today. And that's, Chris, what you were just referring to a moment ago. Get those guys who certainly had a bad taste in their mouth from what happened here in the 8th inning last night, and try and get it back out there today and get on a good roll.
If you're a short reliever, you have to have a short memory. By far the best closers I had ever been around are guys that when they showed up the next day after a ball game, you didn't know whether they struck out the side to nail down a save or whether they gave up a 3-run home run to lose it. They come in with a completely blank slate.
This will do it for the Reds in the 8th. Pirates will bat in the 9th. Reds in front, 5-1. Sports Ohio brought to you by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. It's time for our Miller Time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. Chris, we talked about the 3 really key plays in this game, all on defense for the Reds.
You're right. That defense really came out big. There were 2 of them on Jody Mercer, a line drive, and then the ground ball double play. That happened in the 4th inning. And Joey Votto one that really turned the tide, and he was able to make the out at first base, fire to second base to get John Jaso on his way back. Raisel Iglesias had an excellent outing through his 5 2/3, and the Reds are up 5-1.
Reds have gotten 2 1/3 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball behind Iglesias, and now the Reds will give the ball to J.J. Hoover. This is not obviously a safe situation with a 4-run lead. J.J. charged with a blown save and hung with a loss last night, giving up the grand slam to Marte in the 8th inning. Ground ball right side, so J.J. right back up on that horse and takes care of Mercer to start the 9th.
Funny how the defense last night, and maybe it was the conditions of the field. It was wet, it was cold, it was very windy. Neither team played very good defense at all. But today it has been defense and pitching, really. Of course, the home run by Suarez helps, but still in all, it's been defense and pitching that has really put the Reds where they are right now, 2 outs away from nailing this one down.
The Reds are 2 outs away from not only getting the win, but beating the #1 pitcher in this Pirate rotation. And really, you look at the first 2 games of this series, and look, at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, as Michael Morse is a pinch hitter off the bench. But I think everybody would agree that these top 2 pitchers in the Pirate rotation, at least for this first series meeting between these 2 teams, the Reds had them right where they wanted them. I don't know where in the world that missed. How in the world was that called a ball? I mean, we'll look at it again here on Fox Tracks. All right. Iglesias would go to 1-0. The Reds would continue what has really been incredible success in a short amount of time. But compared to everybody else against Garrett Cole, they are really the only team that he has had trouble with in his young major league career. 4 starts last year, did not get through the 6th inning in any of them. And here today, pitches 4 2/3 innings. Now, they were going to keep an eye on him where he was because of the rib injury in spring training. So they weren't going to let him go out there and throw 110 pitches today. Morse gone on strikes, and the Reds an out away from putting this one to bed. Reds Live coming up right after the game, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down. Jim Day, Jeff Piecoro, Chris Welsh all standing by. I mean, what a difference one swing of the bat makes in a series. You take away that Marte grand slam, we know you can't. That was the difference in the game. They won the game, but that one swing produced the 4 runs. The Pirates have scored a total of 2 runs collectively in every other swing over the first 2 games of this series. And this is going to do it. So the Reds will leave it in 1 game apiece with a rubber game to go tomorrow. They hand the Pirates their first loss of the year. Reds win, final count of 5-1. Iglesias beats Cole. And it'll be Melville v. Locke tomorrow.